Look out! The Black Panther is ready for you!
He's defeated Captain America, undead zombie Terminators, other invading countries, Dr. Doom, and an alien invasion. His only real defeat was marriage. Oh well, nobody's perfect. With the movie coming out, people are going to be all jazzed and are going to want to read more about him. Well, they can. All they have to do is read the comic books. So, let's go over some of his most interesting big moments. Number 1. Black Panther defeats the devil. I know people are going to say that Mephisto isn't really the devil, and my response to that is I will not accept that. Mephisto really didn't have a chance when you consider that he just dealt with a guy that probably would have sold his soul for a good fitting pair of pants. After that, it's pretty easy to underestimate anyone else you run into. T'Challa defeats Mephisto by giving him just what he wanted in spades. You've got to admit, this was one hell of a way to start a character's first new ongoing series in almost 20 years. Number 2. Black Panther battles the Ku Klux Klan. Yep, that really happened. Of course, this was in the 1970s when you could be more experimental. This happened back in Black Panther's first series. For the first 18 issues, T'Challa fought against other African villains. Starting with issue 19, he began fighting the Klan. A relative of his then girlfriend was murdered and he then came to the US to solve the case. A couple of notable moments are when Black Panther is hanging on a cross with the Klan standing around holding torches. Also him going to a convenience store with his girlfriend in costume with his mask on for some reason. The only big problem I have with this story is that it wasn't really ever completed, sorta. The series was canceled at issue 24 and this story point wasn't picked up again until his second series roughly about 5 years later. And that followed an arc that wasn't truly completed because Jack the King Kirby just suddenly dropped off the book. Number 3. Black Panther battles a legion of undead Deathlock Terminators. This was from the first story arc of the third Black Panther series. For reasons, vibranium, the US government and other factions wanted to invade Wakanda. One of the weapons the government used, other than Claw and the Rhino, were a ton of corpses turned into Deathlock, and going to what Deathlock is going to take too long. So just for the purpose of this section, just imagine a bunch of zombies retrofitted to be Terminators. This arc shows how a newly king T'Challa deals with attacks from all sides, as well as the first time he became Black Panther. Number 4. Black Panther defeats the Fantastic Four. In his first appearance, he sends an emissary along with some super high-tech devices that even impress Reed Richards, and invites the Fantastic Four to be hunted, and for some reason they accept. There were a lot of impressive moments in this story. The coloring of the black people not being one of them, however. Why are all the black people in here gray? Originally, the Hulk was supposed to stay gray, but because of coloring problems, he was switched to green. Does that mean that the Hulk is really a symbol of the black man and the army always chasing him makes them the man? Well, anyway, from this, he got popular enough to join the Avengers, but not to get his own series for a good number of years, for reasons. Number 5. Black Panther battles the Skrulls. Wakanda's never been successfully conquered before, so they weren't about to let a bunch of green aliens be the first ones to do it. This was a crossover during the Secret Invasion storyline where we find out that the shape-shifting Skrulls had been masquerading as various humans and Marvel heroes for years. The Skrulls had the manpower, tactics, and technology to defeat just about any enemy, but then they messed up by trying to invade Wakanda. It had a really great ending, and I love the teamwork of all the characters and Storm's role in this. Over the years, I've overdosed on mega events and comics, and because of that, other than the main storyline, I don't really buy any crossovers of the major events. I made the exception with Secret Invasion. The only two comics that I bought in trades and when they came out were of Deadpool and the Black Panther ones. Number 6. Black Panther kills Namor? Some backstory first. A few years ago, the Phoenix Force came back to Earth, but since an adult Jean Grey wasn't alive, it looked for the next best option. Her daughter, Hope Summers, well, future daughter. The X-Men fought to prevent this since it would possibly lead to the end of humanity. Well, one thing leads to another, and the Phoenix Force was split into Scott Summers, Colossus, Emma Frost, Majik, and Namor. The power was too much for all of them to handle, and they ran roughshod over the world, during which Namor completely destroyed Wakanda. T'Challa didn't take that well, and after everything settled down and Wakanda was rebuilt, T'Challa decided to kill Namor. All this was delayed for a while since both men were part of the Illuminati, and they occasionally had to save the world in reality. Finally, Black Panther got his chance and he killed Namor. It was glorious.
Glorious! No, I won't give in till I'm victorious. And I will defend.
Now, Namor is alive now, well, because of comic books, but still, it was a great moment. Number 7. T'Challa marries Storm. Looking back, it was bound to happen at some point. There weren't that many black superheroes at that point, so a writer putting them together was going to happen, even though both of them had interesting long-term on-off relationships with other people. This started building after the ill-advised X-Men Black Panther crossover Wild Kingdom. Then a mini-series about the two was made. After that, or during, I can't really remember, an entire storyline in Black Panther was made about him trying to find a wife. He did other things too, but this took precedent. Oy. This all led to them finally getting married, and it actually worked great for a while. Both are strong characters, and I believed in their love. This also threw in an interesting cog into future stories. The problem is, 1, Storm's powers. Realistically, she could take out most enemies, which lessens the tension of any conflict. 2, the X-Men. She was Queen of Wakanda, but she was still a prominent member of the X-Men. She's going to be pulled in both directions, and odds are, most likely due to editorial mandate, eventually the X-Men will win. So going into the wedding, you knew this wasn't going to last that long. It actually wound up lasting longer than I thought though. An arc of him looking for a wife is silly. However, if you're going to do that, then how about having him end up with a character that is either less visible than Storm or not part of another group that will take prominence over the relationship. Some examples would be Monica Rambeau, Spectrum, Misty Knight, Colleen Wynn, Malice, okay, maybe not her, Dr. Cecilia Reyes, Yukio, and so on. Number 8. Christopher Priest's entire run. With his first ongoing series in about 20 years, he had a 4-issue limited series in 1988. Christopher Priest not only made Black Panther relevant, but a prominent mainstay in all of Marvel media to this day. He did this not only by adding new aspects to the character and his lore, like the Dora Milaje and Vibranium suit, all those came from his run, or just by focusing more on the character. He incorporated everything from T'Challa's past and put it in this run, and it all made sense. This run of the series created a ton of new fans for the character. Nowadays, when you hear people talk fondly about the character and how great he is, it's most likely because of Priest's run on the character. Number 9. Shuri becomes Black Panther. Shuri was co-created by Reginald Hudlin and John Romita Jr. and perhaps was the single best thing to come out of Hudlin's entire run with the character. For reasons I won't go into right now, you'll have to read the story or maybe I'll do something on it at a later time. T'Challa's stepsister had to step in to the role of Black Panther because T'Challa was indisposed. It was interesting to see someone different in the role, unlike with the end of the Priest run where someone else was handed over the role and then told, nope, you don't deserve it because you're not Wakandan. This was different because if you read the first story arc, Who is the Black Panther, you could see some setup for this event there. Her first arc as Black Panther was a coming-of-age story, and she had to overcome her self-doubt and her jealousy for her brother. Shuri is highly intelligent, even more than her brother, a great fighter, and a great all-around character. Even though she gave back the title of Black Panther to him, I do wish Marvel would have given her another secret identity. She more than deserves it. Oh, and one last thing, a side note really. After Namor went bonkers when he had part of the Phoenix Force inside him and destroyed Wakanda, she led an attack on Atlantis, destroying it. So yeah, both countries aren't on very friendly terms right now. Number 10. Black Panther defeats Doctor Doom. Now, Doctor Doom infected a bunch of Wakandans and tried to have them rebel and overthrow T'Challa. Well, now Shuri, who was head of Wakanda. Why? Full vibranium, of course. T'Challa is able to outsmart Doom, but to do that, and here's a spoiler warning, he had to make all of Wakanda's vibranium inert. Eventually, it became uninert. Is that even a real term? But for the life of me, I can't find out when that happened. I don't know, maybe it happened during Matt Fraction's run on the Fantastic Four or something. The Black Panther has been around for over 50 years, so of course he's going to have more great and interesting moments, but these are just 10 that I can think of off the top of my head. In the future, I'll talk about that one time when Black Panther partnered up with a little person named Mr. Lil who wore a bowler hat and a monocle, searching for a frog that's a time machine that morphs into a great alien, all of which was conceived by Jack the King Kirby. Intrigued?